Hi there, and welcome to Introduction to GIS for this fall 2017 semester. My name is Tristan, and I'll be instructing you this semester. Why do we map our world? What is the purpose of mapping our environment? What do we gain when we map our world? These are all questions that, while may not be easily answered, can be explored through the introduction into GIS and through better understanding how GIS works within a software environment. Today I'm going to be going over some basics of GIS, including saving your data, some general terms, and how to create a new map, how to start fresh with a new project. These are all three really important concepts and terminologies to learn in order to be able to begin exploring what GIS has to offer you. The most important thing within GIS, before learning any terminology, how to start a new map, is how to save your data. Saving your data is essentially the most crucial thing you can do within this project, because there will be so many times where you will need more than 10 to 15 minutes to make a project, and in some instances with the software it can crash really easily, and that way it's important to be able to know that you've saved throughout the whole process, so that if you do lose the program, or if you do lose what you've just worked on, you don't have to make up as much ground as you would have if you hadn't saved at all. Most importantly, when you're in the program, save every 5 minutes. Save before and after you begin, or even during a major editing session, and make sure that what you've saved is done correctly. All this means is just double checking your work, going back and making sure that what you've done looks right, and knowing that you might have options of how to change it, and that there are ways to understand how what you've saved can affect your future project. Additionally, there can be outages within the school's saving system and the school's hard drive that they give to you, and that way it's really important to have your data backed up onto an external hard drive, a thumb drive, or some other way that you can save it. Maybe in a cloud, maybe some other way. You should always have your data saved in at least 3 different spots. I choose a thumb drive, a hard drive, external hard drive, and within the school's own system. This way I know that if the school loses the data and if it loses my thumb drive, I still have my external hard drive, and vice versa. This just ensures that you have your data saved in enough places so that you can come back to it at a later date and that it makes sense to you. Additionally, it's really important to make sure that you've saved your files in a way that makes sense to you, in a way that you will understand maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road. For instance, if you're doing a project on watersheds or water basins or river basins, it'd be really important, I think, to include the suffix or prefix RB for river basin within all of your saved files that deal with river basins or that contain river basin information. This way you know that this is dealing with river basins, and maybe even name the whole file that you're saving all of these pieces of data in, river basins, and include the project, or some other way to make sure that you understand what you've just saved. Now, I've just gone over some really important terminology that you need to understand, like layer file, and other instances of terminology like data frame, and other really important concepts to understand. First and foremost, the data frame is what you're working in when you're in the GIS program. The data frame is what you do all your editing in, and it is what actually produces the map. The data frame looks like an actual little box on your screen, and in that data frame you can do all sorts of editing and you can display your map in so many different ways. The layer file is essentially a specific type of information that you're putting within the map. The layer file could be state boundaries, and within that state boundaries file you could include information on the name of the state, the size of the state, the population of the state, any other important information that includes the state, because what a layer file is essentially a database with coordinates in it, like an Excel spreadsheet, and all this information included with it. And with that layer file, it tells you whether this is like a polygon or like a shape, a point, so a dot on a map would be like where a city is, or a line. A line could be a river, or road, or any other thing that doesn't need to be displayed by a point or a shape. Other important things to know are a geographic coordinate system and projected coordinate system. While you do need to have all your maps projected into some kind of coordinate system, these are 2 different ways of doing your coordinate systems. A geographic coordinate system uses degrees instead of actual measurable feet or inches on the ground, and are generally used for smaller scale maps, so maps that would show the entire world versus the state of Florida. Projected coordinate systems are really good at showing one particular location, but not good at showing larger areas, like, say, a whole continent. I would use projected coordinate systems when you're doing a map of Florida and not for the whole world, as a map of the whole world on a projected coordinate system just for Florida will appear very distorted once you get even just a little farther out from Florida. These are all important terms to understand that you'll become more familiar with throughout the course of the semester. Now, the fun part, making a map. It's always important when you make a map is to first select what you're projecting your map into and make sure that the projection of your map includes the data frame or is the same data frame and is the same for the whole saved file itself. Having this congruency makes it really simple to transfer data between data frames if your map has multiple data frames, which many maps will have, and can also just save you time and hassle. If you don't project your information correctly in the beginning, or start out with the correct projection, the one that you want to use, you can have some serious issues down the road that could erase hours of work that you put into the project. Additionally, it's really important to keep in mind that you need to save your map while you're making your map, and that also you need to be aware of what kind of layer files you're putting into your map. If you can, in each data frame, do not include duplicate layer files. Say you wanted to display certain aspects of a layer file in certain steps, because layer files, as they sound, layer on top of each other, meaning that some things become obscured when you add more layers on top of it. Some people like to include multiple versions of the same layer file to show one aspect split between two levels. So you might have, the border of the states on the bottom, and the information in between, maybe elevation, and then maybe a layer showing the different populations in each state color-coded. And you'd have that layered that way on top of the elevation. Instead of doing that, it's really easier to just have a separate file for your population instead of having multiple different versions of your layer file. And make sure that within your data frame, all these different layer files are labeled separately. They all have unique names to them and don't just have the generic name that you saved them under. Now, this is just a brief introduction to GIS. The software can be much more complex and nuanced, and it's really important that you understand and you explore all these different facets of this. So with this, I encourage you to go out into the software, go out into the week, and look at this software and all it has to offer, and just remember to save your files, remember these key terminologies, and to remember that when you start a map, these few basic principles that will just help you get going in the beginning. Thanks for your time, and thanks for listening.